Welcome to Chemistry in Detail. Today we are going to discuss the topic vapor pressure of liquid solutions. What do you mean by liquid solutions? A liquid solution is a solution in which the solvent is a liquid. When the solvent is a liquid, the solute can be a solid, a liquid or a gas. We had discussed about the gas in liquid in last class. Hope you remember Henry's law. Now we are going to discuss about the solute solid in a liquid and the solute liquid in liquid. The solid solute can be volatile or non-volatile and the liquid solute is necessarily volatile itself. Here we are concerned about binary solutions. That means the solution will have only two components, a solute and a solvent. So first let us see what is meant by vapor pressure. You have studied about vapor pressure last year in the unit states of matter. But if you have forgotten it, we will recollect it once again. Vapor pressure refers to the pressure exerted by vapors present immediately above the surface of a liquid in a closed vessel. In the diagram, you can see two vessels. In one, evaporation is taking place and in the other, boiling is taking place. There are molecules in the vapor phase immediately above the surface of the liquid in both the cases. First, let us look at the evaporation. There you can see comparatively less number of molecules above the surface of the liquid compared to that of boiling. And these molecules present in the vapor phase, that is the phase above the surface of the liquid. The pressure exerted by these vapors is referred to as vapor pressure. In the case of evaporation, vapor pressure is less than atmospheric pressure. Hence, we cannot see any bubbles forming in the case of evaporation. But if you look at the boiling, you can see more number of molecules in the vapor phase. So, the vapor phase exerts a pressure which is almost equal to the atmospheric pressure, and you can see bubbles rising up. This is because we are providing external heat in the case of boiling. Evaporation occurs at room temperature, but boiling occurs when you provide external heat to a vessel, so that the molecules in the liquid phase forms bubble and the vapor pressure increases and reaches the atmospheric pressure. When this equilibrium is attained, boiling takes place. Hope you understood what is meant by vapor pressure. The pressure exerted by vapor present immediately above the surface of the liquid. Now we are going to discuss about the vapor pressure of a solution in which both the components are liquids. One is more volatile than the other. So the volatile component will be easily forming the vapor phase. Let us name the components as 1 and 2. After some time, in a closed vessel, both the components 1 and 2 will form vapors and the total vapor pressure will be P total. The partial pressure of component 1 will be P1 and the partial pressure of component 2 will be P2. The mole fraction of component 1 will be Chi1 and the mole fraction of component 2 will be Chi2. A French chemist named Francois Marthe Raoult gave the quantitative relationship between the partial pressure of a component and its mole fraction. This law is known as Raoult's law. R-A-O-U-L-T, Raoult's law, a very important law. He said that for a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. That is, for component 1, P1 is proportional to Chi1, that is P1 is equal to P10 into Chi1. And for component 2, P2 is proportional to Chi2. That is, P2 can be written as P20 into Chi2. Now, P10 and P20 are the vapor pressure of pure component 1 at the same temperature, and P20 is the vapor pressure of pure component 2 at the same temperature. That means when only component 1 is present, the vapor pressure of component 1 will be equal to P10, and when component 2 alone is present, then the vapor pressure of component 2 will be P20. According to Dalton's law, P total, that is the total vapor pressure, is equal to the sum of the vapor pressure of component 1 and the vapor pressure of component 2. Substituting the values of P1 and P2, we get P total as Chi1 P10 plus Chi2 P20. And since there are only two components, Chi1 plus Chi2 is equal to 1. We know this. So, Chi1 can be written as 1 minus Chi2. So, substituting this, P total is equal to 1 minus Chi2 into P1 plus Chi2 into P2. So, P total is equal to P10 minus P10 into Chi2 plus Chi2 into P20. Now we can take Chi2 outside. Chi2 into P20 minus P10. So we can relate the total vapor pressure to either the mole fraction of component 1 or component 2 in this manner. Since we had taken the mole fraction of component 1 as 1 minus Chi2, we got the first relationship, and if we are taking Chi2 as 1 minus Chi1, then we will get the second relationship. Three things can be concluded from the above relationship. First one, total vapor pressure over the solution can be related to the mole fraction of any component. Second one, total vapor pressure over the solution varies linearly with the mole fraction of component 2. And the third point is that depending on the vapor pressure of pure components 1 and 2, the total vapor pressure either decreases or increases with increase in mole fraction of component 1. You can see the graphical representation of the Raoult's law. Vapor pressure of component 1 and component 2 and the mole fractions of the two have been represented in the graph. In the x-axis, you can see the mole fraction of component 2 increasing. You can see mole fraction of component 1 is equal to 1 at the left end of the graph, that is here. Mole fraction of component 2 is 0, chi 2 is equal to 0, and it is slowly increasing in the right, towards right, and it finally reaches 1 or unity. And in the case of mole fraction of component 1, it is becoming 0 at this point. So when component 1 is 0, the partial pressure of component 2 is P20. When component 2 is 0, the partial pressure of component 1 is P10. So here this is the P total, that is the total vapor pressure, which is the sum of the vapor pressure of component 1 and component 2. Once again, the statement of Raoult's law: for a solution of volatile components, the partial vapor pressure of one component is directly proportional to its mole fraction in solution. Here is a visual illustration as well. In the figure, you can see blue labeled component 1, red labeled component 2. Instead of 1 and 2, we have marked it as A and B, that's all. Total vapor pressure will be equal to chi A Pa0 plus chi B Pb0. Chi A plus chi B is equal to 1, the temperature being constant T. Now we'll see the mole fraction of components 1 and 2, or A and B, in the vapor phase. If Y1 is the mole fraction of component 1 in the vapor phase and Y2 the mole fraction of component 2 in the vapor phase, we can form a relationship between the partial pressure of component 1 and the mole fraction in the vapor phase as P1 is equal to Y1 into P total and P2 is equal to Y2 into P total. So Y1 and Y2, as already mentioned, are the mole fractions of component 1 and component 2 in the vapor phase. Raoult's law as a special case of Henry's law. According to Raoult's law, the vapor pressure of a volatile component in a given solution is given by P1 is equal to chi 1 into P10. And in the solution of a gas and a liquid, one of the components is so volatile that it exists as a gas. And we have already seen that its solubility is given by Henry's law, which states that partial pressure of the gas is equal to Kh into chi, where Kh is the Henry's law constant and chi is the mole fraction of the gas in solution. So if we compare the equations for Raoult's law and Henry's law, it can be seen that the partial pressure of the volatile component or gas is directly proportional to its mole fraction in solution. Only the proportionality constant Kh differs from P10. Thus, Raoult's law becomes a special case of Henry's law in which Kh becomes equal to P10. Now we can see the vapor pressure of solid in liquid. Now the solid we have considered here is a non-volatile component. Now what happens to the vapor pressure of the solvent water when the non-volatile solute is added? If you look at the case 1 where only water molecules are present, you can see water molecules in the vapor phase. In the second case, you have added some sugar into the water and the number of water molecules present in the vapor phase is now only 2 as shown in the figure. This happens because the number of solvent molecules, that is water molecules on the surface, is now reduced because of the presence of sugar in the second case. Thus, only less number of water molecules escape in the form of vapor. So, this decreases the vapor pressure of the solution when a non-volatile solute is added to the solvent. The decrease in the vapor pressure of solvent depends on the quantity of non-volatile solute present in the solution, irrespective of its nature. We will be discussing this further. Now to the general form of Raoult's law can be stated as, for any solution, the partial vapor pressure of each volatile component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. In a binary solution, we can denote the solvent by 1 and the solute by 2. When the solute is non-volatile, only the solvent molecules are present in vapor phase and contribute to the vapor pressure. If P1 is the vapor pressure of the solvent and Chi1 is its mole fraction. P10 is the vapor pressure in the pure state. Then according to Raoult's law, P1 is proportional to Chi1 and P1 is equal to P10 into Chi1. A plot between the vapor pressure and the mole fraction of the solvent is linear. Raoult's law is an important topic, a sure question for your exam. Study well. This is all in today's session. Thank you. Have a nice day. We'll meet again soon. Chemistry in detail.